documentation from water, sewer, drainage standpoints as they come in. Currently, we do not have a system in place to actually send manpower out to a project to confirm those. We take that information from the engineer who stamps them themselves, but this would basically act as McClellan being able to go as a third party and confirming those things from the city standpoint for detention ponds, drainage, infrastructure, water, and sewer as well.
So would this be in addition to your recommendation of an inspection compliance position, or would it be a supplemental if we decide not to go with that recommendation?
So it would be, those are two separate items. Basically, this one is from an engineering standpoint to go check to make sure detention ponds, the bottoms and the tops are built per plan elevation, as opposed to just taking that information from the engineer record.
Perfect, thanks.
This next one is also part of the clarifications that you have in front of you as well too, but requiring a mass grading plan of all subdivision submissions during permitting. That is basically to show what minimum finished floor elevations for lots adjacent to all drainage easements, retention ponds, and floodplains might be. MCUs currently require mass grading on certain submissions if it is warranted. So that's essentially just from an engineering standpoint on the preliminary plat stage to show the engineering staff and planning staff what that finished product will look like prior to it being built, so that there is less confusion and less misunderstanding between the final plat process and the building permit. So we, as a review entity, can understand where all the surface drainage, subsurface drainage would go, as opposed to subdivisions just cutting in a road, installing drainage, water, sewer, utilities, and then having the home builder come up with a grading plan. It would give the home builder, in that building permit phase, a little bit more direction on what the intent of the drainage design was on the front end. So it better reflects what the engineered record had in mind from day one to the home being built. Requiring an additional certification from building grading permit holder that certifies that they've reviewed the final approved plat and any minimum building requirements outlined in the approved plat, and that they have or will convey any minimum building requirements outlined on the approved plat to the homeowner. So it kind of goes along with that very first item of making sure between the final plat and the building permit that everyone understands what is required of them and that they are meeting those standards that are set forth in that final plat document. Evaluating the adoption of a streamside protection ordinance. This is a way to protect the streams of Cape Springs and any kind of waterways, so that those areas, one, have, from a standpoint of protection of the waterways, so that we can kind of try to help reduce the amount of development that is getting really close to a lot of these places. As we've seen development happen in regions and subbasins far north of Cape Springs, it all kind of funnels through us and in the areas that are just right down the street from here. And so this is a way to help try to give relief to some of those streamside areas. Different entities around the region, Fayetteville for one, have adopted some guidelines like this that we have used to try to help kind of formulate what we would recommend as well too. Create and maintain a stormwater GIS map that capture flooding and drainage concerns and complaints that can be referenced at each development submitted to the city for permitting. So I think this would be a great resource for the city, both from the community standpoint and from review staff standpoint, that if there are areas of town that we may not be aware of from a standpoint of that have flooding issues or drainage issues, this would be a good way for everyone to understand kind of where some of those areas and zones are that might be a little bit more temperamental when it comes to drainage, so that we, from a review standpoint, can understand better how to accommodate those areas with new development. Require offsite drainage improvements to be completed by developers to mitigate existing downstream impacts. That's one of the items that we're working with the city attorney on to try to figure out how that gets mitigated and how it gets formulated, how far downstream we can look at as opposed to directly just off the property, the line where that development is ending. And then requiring all dirt and subdivisions to be compacted and stabilized.
One, 2, 3 foot higher, it's going to cause stormwater not to function as originally designed, and I think that's what we saw in that subdivision.
With that,
With that set.
with all that dirt being moved after the final plat.
That's correct.
And so if we have an inspector, and I really feel strongly that I'm glad I see this in here, that this can't fall on Public Works, and this can't fall on McClellan alone. So I like that you guys have an entity of recommending that you are gonna approach it and keep up with the engineers, because I believe there were a lot of failures before that we didn't forecast as a city that people would be doing. And then the fact there's someone that can keep up with every development and have that as a priority. Now with the create and maintain stormwater GIS map, that seems like something that could inspector compliance person could do, and you would integrate everything that we currently have as an issue as well into that. Would that be correct, or they would do that?
That's correct, and since you are your own MS4, you have to maintain a drainage map today as it is with your stormwater and your outfalls that you currently have. And each of those new outfalls with any new subdivision are added to this map. It would be easy to add any of these challenge areas that we have. And so when any development would come in, we would look downstream from that and see what's been identified to ensure that we don't make anything worse and hopefully could improve the downstream situation before it's constructed and before we have those impacts later on.
So would that be considered, oh, sorry. So you would have a specific amount of feet away from the new development that you would be considering in the radius of this all?
Well, I don't know that we consider a specific amount of feet. I mean, we would look at downstream. What does that mean and how far downstream? Normally when you design, say, a new subdivision, new commercial property, you're looking right at your property lines. And that's where you stop. As long as you design the drainage to meet any off-site requirements right at the property line, we want to look a little bit further. And it may be 200 feet, it may be 300 feet, it may be 5. I mean, we don't know what that is, but we just want to ensure that if there is something identified downstream, that during that planning process, we have those discussions then and not after a major rainfall event.
So this would, before preliminary plat, whatever we
Yes.
passed? Okay. That was my last question. Sorry, MC.
No, that's okay. So you will be adjusting on that right now?
Yes, sir. It is, and there's some items that we do have to work through Justin with, because how far off-site can we go? And now, this also offers you an opportunity for cost share as well, whenever this comes in, to see, just as you would do for a water or sewer upgrade, you could look at that and take that opportunity to work with that developer and maybe make things better.
I think these are great recommendations, I think.
Sorry.
Because, right now, I agree with you, there's multiple parcels back there, and if you look at the original town plat, those were all separate lots. They were like lot 1 through 8 of block 2, adjacent to Midway Avenue.
Little bitty lots.
Oh, yes, they were. they were the same as like what's across the street. Like a lot of what is across the street is 1 and or 4 up to of these smaller lots is how all these old towns were platted back in the day. But as far as the future needs, and I haven't got to speak with the Haneys, but I have spoken with their attorney, and I mean, he is aware of the things that are in this. I've talked to him about, like, I don't know what their future plans are, but they're making this property undevelopable because now there's not going to be, access to Midway. Like, and we have 2 lots now that, well, what if someone wants to sell these lots off separately? Well, they don't have access now. How do they get to them? Well, they can't, because they can't get to them through the Haney's property and drive back that way. And technically, he won't have access to them to drive from Midway back there. So, that's the concern as far as from the city
What he's
standpoint.
wanting to do, in speaking with him, is combine all his properties as one and sell.
Yeah.
They're old, and the ULI came here and said if that came up for sale, that'd be a perfect place for a new city hall and police station on that property there.
I think we talked about it over here. I don't remember all the way back there in the
I'm
corner.
talking right back there on their map.
Yeah, I mean, that's not what is in the book and what I referenced
here.
here.
ULI, but you all seem to, and whatever, but that's what they said on the Haney property. So, why don't the city buy it?
That's up to the city.
So,
But if we did this and the city bought it, it's useless to us because we can't access it from Midway. Because then there's no easement and there's no access to Midway. That's my point, and like that's what I've discussed with like our water department and stuff like that. Is like if we're giving this land away and then we have to come back through and get it later, well, now we're going to go and purchase land back from that we gave away. It's like at least with like the other one, someone's offering to buy the land and pay us money for it. But like also if we're giving it away and then we need to go and get access, or someone has to get access to it in the future, or we need to run a water or sewer line through it, they're not going to give it back to us. They're going to make us pay for it.
But would there be access off of 264?
No,
Would there
ma'am.
be access off of 264?
No, ma'am. 264?
Or I thought you were talking about behind the Baptist church.
no, City Hall, City Hall.
Who said Baptist church?
Right back.
Mike was talking about he was referencing
Oh,
a different
I'm so
road
confused for a
that
second.
is back behind the Baptist church that we
You can't.
used to maintain and stuff. Yeah.
But if Mr. Haney had all of that, there would be no development in there.
I agree. Yes.
And then whoever bought it from them could do whatever they wanted to do.
There has been.
They could, but they wouldn't have access other than to tear down that old house in this alley back here. And, there's no like real access to the back of that property. It's not like they would have the access off Midway, is what I'm saying.
What I'm saying is that there would be no need. His property goes all the way to back there. If you look at it, he's got property on both sides of these
Yes.
roads. So if we gave that up, he would own all of that there. There would be no need for another road to go in there.
The point is that if they developed it and put 6 houses back there, there wouldn't be a way to get a road into it.
Yes.
If they do that. May I speak to that?
Yeah.
So they are my clients, so I put that on the table so everyone knows. So I'm not gonna say, definitely when it comes to voting, I'm not gonna vote on it. It's bad. I do wanna say that they've been maintaining this for quite a while now, maybe 30 years. They got permit from city to put that in there, and their whole idea is not to put they're gonna sell it, basically at some point. And if they don't have access to Midway and they're not gonna get as much for it, then that would be their decision, I guess, but the way it is right now, it's not good for them at all, because they're maintaining something and they have to shop on it, and the city has now I can see asking for the easement.
And that was
that's
kind
asking
of
for-
my the point that we talked about with, the staff and all this discussing is like, we could at least retain easement rights.
For utility.
And honestly, I think we only need it for the one piece that's 50 foot. The smaller 25-foot section between the church and the house, and then the two parcels back there, like, we could probably close that all the way. But realistically, the 50-foot section that was actually originally Maple Street, like, I think, what we've talked about internally, staff and all of this, like, it would really behoove us, and it's the best thing for the city and the property owners long term.
So is it possible to maintain that easement, or do they want us to vacate it? Totally.
My understanding is they were asking to vacate the right of way. So it's an established right of way, so it's a separate parcel, right? It's got the same parcel ID. Like if you click on it, it comes up with all the other roads and things in the city. Like it's not just an easement. We would vacate the right of way, which it would actually technically become part of their property. But we would retain the idea that was kind of proposed is that we would at least maintain an access and utility easement over that 50-foot strip in case there ever is the need for the city to, put utilities in there, or one of these two parcels back there to have access, because then they wouldn't have access. And we don't split land that doesn't have access. Like, we don't create parcels without legal access to them.
Okay. So you're
Like that's something that nobody should be doing anywhere, creating parcels without legal access. Because all that does is then create issues that come to the city later because neighbors are fighting because, hey, I can't get to my land. And it's a very, very...
So if someone bought and they wanted to split, it couldn't be split because we wouldn't have an easement there. Is that what you're saying? So if someone bought that whole property and wanted to split it, instead of buying one purchase altogether, there
Yes.
would be no utility.
Yes, that is a future,
access.
that is a potential future issue that would come from closing all the easements, or closing all the right-of-ways, trying to use the right terminology, closing all the right-of-ways and not retaining any sort of like access easement or something in those areas.
I think it's probably in the best interest to just, what does the planning commission say on it? Or it doesn't go to-
It didn't go to planning, no ma'am.
It just comes to us, okay. I think it would be in the best interest of the city to maintain that easement for that section. And however it's developed or sold is up to whatever and whoever. But I don't know, what's your thoughts on that, Lucy, as a council member, not as a, or maybe I should be asking you since you're your clients.
Having easement is reasonable things to have for utility.
I think maintaining that 50-foot easement would probably be in the best, I think it would be in the best interest of the city. And I understand there are other arguments now.
But
I just asked a question, I'm sorry. You're
You
saying,
said 50 feet, you said 50-foot easement, you think it would be beneficial for this to retain that?
yeah, retain it, yes, sorry. You're using the word maintain, so I just want to clarify. Yes, retain
Sorry.
a 50-foot easement over the existing right-of-way space that is 50 feet. Yes, that was the recommendation when we looked at it from the staff level.
And you're saying the landowner is not in favor of that, or has it been?
I've only talked to the attorney. I've not got to talk to the landowner. The attorney was talking about getting us all together and having that discussion, but I've not got
It
to.
hasn't happened yet.
That has
It
not
would be
happened.
very beneficial to have that discussion, and just simply because as a city, I don't think we should let an easement fully go, but we have a space of it, so future development and things like that, so it doesn't come back on the city, and if someone buys it and wants to split it, there's no future confrontation with the city that we did something that shouldn't have been done. And is that common, Daniel, to in a situation to retain something like that in regards to the property? So if that is common practice, I think the city should do.
And it's not uncommon here either. We've closed several of the old alleys and streets where we retained utility easement or some form of easement.
Perfect.
Retaining utility easement is But if you have any question, you want me to help you, you can let me know. I'll be more than happy to meet you and discuss.
Yes, and I'm more than happy to discuss any of it. That was just, I fully understand and appreciate him taking care of it. You know, I do. I've brush hogged a city road, you know, like here in town, you know, like I need to brush hog a road up on the hill. To be honest with you, Mike, I ain't done it yet. But it also was not uncommon practice, or I would say uncommon practice. Most cities' ordinances, when they were established it as the property owner's right to maintain the center line of the right of way. So even though there may not have ever been a road put in, it was still always the property owners on each adjacent side to maintain the center line of any right of way. Like back when they were dirt streets and all that. So that was from a code enforcement, you know, maintenance standpoint. But
So can you touch base with the attorney about that?
yes, ma'am. I mean,
Since we'll be voting on it? Or
I had
see-
expected him to, you know, be here tonight, or however we want to do it. I have no qualms. I have no issues.
Mr. Haney has bronchitis right now.
Yes, sir.
Talking about Jay.
Okay.
Yeah.
I expected him to be here myself. I would suggest that, you give him, see a chance to talk to Mr. Haney. I think his son's involved in this too.
Okay.
Who's in Little Rock.
Okay.
And, try to get it done before next week.
Yeah.
I may give us some time.
That sounds fine.
Thanks.
Yep.
Thank you.
Next item is a land purchase offer that's been made. Do we have anyone here to speak to that? Do you want to address that as well?
Give it a second.
It's your night, David.
So, similar concept. This one, again, I understand it. There are some more immediate pressing concerns with this. And in speaking about this with like our public works director and things like that, you know, where they're proposing, I believe, to purchase, like we have manholes in that piece of land, and we have sewer lines and water lines running through there and things like that. So from just a utility standpoint, there's some major concerns, you know, from just that standpoint. From trying to think about or figure out the best way to word this. From the planning standpoint, if you flip to page 4, you can kind of see a picture of the proposed RDOT connection where they're putting the new roundabout in on 264 east of this property, correct? You know, you can see where they're kind of taking the property in question, you know, where the applicant. Yes, 264 west.
Oh, okay.
That way, yes, sir.
Sorry.
Yeah. And you can see where they're proposing to bring the curbs and radiuses and stuff like that in, right? You know, part of us working with RDOT on the realignment and the Main Street vacation, you know, is we were proposing to bring the trail in to that area. And part of the future idea was that trail would go to the T.R. Wallace Park, and we could potentially do some of the items that was addressed in that downtown master plan there. The one thing I forgot to get to y'all, and my assistant has already skedaddled, is we have already once submitted for a grant, for a placemaking grant for that park to get some money to potentially put in like a future sign, like Welcome to Cave Springs, where people come in there to do like some bike racks, some better seating, to kind of update the T.R. Wallace Park. Part of that included taking out that connection to Main Street where Chestnut, you know, curves back in. Because really, there's a lot of connections to Chestnut. We don't have to have that curve back in right there. And it's kind of a dangerous spot to put all those entrances. So, we were kind of, the long-term plan that we were looking at was to eliminate that Chestnut connection on the north side of the park, let that all become park space with maybe some parking for people on the back side of it. So that was kind of like, that was like the pretty side of it, right? It was like, like hopes and dreams for making a better park. But, there's also other issues like sewer and water in that area. And I would hate for us to sell this and then that connection point to Chestnut not be able to be closed off in the future either, or that to be someone's driveway for their business. Like that wouldn't be the best location for a personal business entrance either. So that's just, was kind of some of the concerns we had. I mean, I understand they're wanting to move their property building back because of setbacks. Currently that property itself is zoned C1, which is downtown commercial. It doesn't have building setbacks. They can be on property line. They can be on property line, except that building is an old house and it was not built per building code to be on the property line. So they could be within 10 feet of the back of that, within the back, their back property line as it is with their primary structure. They don't even have to adhere to like the 25-foot typical rear building setback.
Because it's C1?
Because it's C1, yes. So
We need to update that.
I would rather work with the property owner and try and do a variance or see if there's another way we could accommodate moving the building. And at least that was, my thoughts along with, other staff members, we talked about it, as opposed to selling, this portion of land that realistically also, I mean, I know they're saying that they just want it for building setbacks. Well, they don't really have building setbacks. The only building setbacks that they have are not really building setbacks. It has to do with building code. And it has to do with, like if they had a firewall, like a block wall, they could be on property line. So I think there's a better way to solve his problem than selling a portion of land that we have utilities in.
David, my question is why C1 doesn't have any setback?
C1 is the downtown,
Right.
and it's the old original plats, and that's how all those were designed, and that's what we've always had for C1 as far as the building topologies, to promote this kind of zero lot line, firewall look.
Should we update it going forward?
Oh, we're going to update, and I don't want to get like deep into zoning code, but there are specific requirements to C1, and there's probably things that we're going to add in the zoning code update that we've already discussed. Like if you're going to be C1, you have build two lines. Like they have to build to the edge property lines. They can't go 3 feet off or something. They have to build to them, and they have to adhere, to the actual building code standards. So, but that's a zoning and building update thing we're working on.
Yeah, I recommend that, definitely.
I mean, as far as C1 goes, I mean, the location of the lot and the land, I can understand it being C1, like it fits because of the location, but the building is not a C1 building, and it does not adhere to the code. We would probably call it a non-conforming use in a C1 zone. Yeah.
My opinion is, I don't think we should give any downtown, I don't think we should sell anything downtown that is ours. We already have very limited downtown space, and doing what is in the best interest of the city, I don't think we should let anything go, such as something that is in the core of our downtown that we own land around. I would entertain the idea of you working with the homeowner to do some kind, or not, the owner of the property to do something that they're looking for, like the variance that would work together with the planning. But my personal opinion is, I don't think we should outright sell anything that we own as a city, because, like I said, we don't have much city
And
land.
I agree. And just for additional clarification, I mean, prior to this, I did not ever get to speak with the property owner about him wanting to purchase this. But I mean, I have spoken with him in the past about, like, we told him about what we were working on in the park and like showed him like what we'd submitted, and you know, he was on board with that. Like, he loved it. And he's been asking me questions about like the adjacent properties next to him. Like, he's been trying to buy some of that off of the RDOT, like the Wrights property that is to the west of him, the property directly kind of southwest of that. So, I mean, I've been discussing with him options, trying to work, you know, with him, because I know he was wanting to keep the building. And he made a fair offer as far as I'm aware. I mean, I think it's a you know, fair offer to, you know, purchase the land. But again, there's some other issues there.
To be honest, the money amount doesn't play any impact on my decision when I'm looking at, for me personally as a council member, to sell off portions of our land. I think it opens kind of a can of worms for other things and kind of sets a precedent, but I also feel strongly that we should not just sell land or give it up in terms of things that we outright own.
Anything else?
Thank you.
Thank you, David.
Yes, sir.
Thanks.
The next item is discussion of reconsideration of the rezone decision for the Ford Lane property. And we have the applicant here to speak this evening. Would someone like to?
Good evening, Will Kellstrom here on behalf of the developer on this rezoning request. I've been hired to assist with this rezoning. So first off, we're here on asking you guys to make a motion to reconsider this. I went back and watched the city council video meeting from when this was here last on October 28th. And in that meeting, I saw that we didn't present much. We didn't really give you guys that much information. And for that, we apologize. And that's why we're here tonight. We're going to try to make that better. And we're going to do a better job this time of getting you all the information that you're looking for. So what we have done is we have Taylor with Crafton and Toll, who's brought a drainage exhibit that he can show you guys. And we'll be happy to answer any engineering or drainage questions. We have Aaron Thornborough here, who is the project manager. I understand some questions have been posed to him as well, and he's happy to get up and discuss answers to those. And ultimately what we're here for is again, we're asking you all to make a motion to reconsider this item. We are not asking you to approve it tonight and let us move forward to development. All we're asking for is a second chance. So with that, I'll let my colleagues take the floor here. Thank you.
Good evening again. Taylor Lindley with Crafton Toll and Associates. Get my exhibits spread out and then I'll pass some things out to you all. Alright, so I've passed around, there's 3 sheets there. 2 of them are drainage maps showing pre and post drainage conditions on the site, utilizing the county contours that are available for us for the surrounding areas. This is a preliminary drainage map as discussed at the last meeting. We haven't gotten into the full depth civil design yet, trying to get all of our entitlements in place from the rezone perspective before the developer spends the dollars to go further with engineering design of the site. But we're still able to do some preliminary work and some drainage analysis and prepare these exhibits for you all. First page on there is the existing drainage map showing the boundary of the existing drainage lines. So that green line that you see on there, that's everything that would drain through the site and everything that would ultimately on the next page drain through our pond. we're not 100% on everything coming from Brentwood yet. I need to do some more exploration out there. But either way, we're not changing the flow rate coming from Brentwood, and we're not restricting it. We will allow it to pass through the site, either through our detention pond or in a bypass channel or pipe or some other method. So I'll clean that up a little bit more before the next council meeting. But as you can see right now, we're only expecting the backyards of those corner lots, and the rest of the subdivision would drain through the existing detention facilities in Brentwood. The blue boundary on that first page is everything that kind of bypasses to the south. There's an existing kind of large drainage channel to the south further down Ford Lane. So all of that's roughly 4.3 acres on the existing drainage boundary. And the next page will show that we're not increasing any of that. We're actually decreasing it down to roughly 3.7 acres. So the only thing that would be leaving our site to the south would be the backyards from those homes on the south boundary, and then a little bit of the yards on the east side of the site, that front Ford Lane. So on that second page, you can see the majority of the site, everything to the northeast will remain as is, the little bit coming on site from Brentwood and the neighboring property to the east, and then obviously the area to the north. Like I mentioned, none of that would be restricted before coming through our site. We would capture that either in our detention pond or a bypass pipe, and then discharge it on the west boundary line. From there, as we discussed, the post-developed flow rates will not increase. That's the main intention of our drainage manuals across the region, is to make sure we're maintaining pre-developed flow rates on neighboring property owners, not increasing the flow rate of water, and therefore creating a detrimental situation to the downstream neighbors. We do have the third page kind of indicates what those structures would look like. We just have kind of a basic box style control, outlet control structure for our detention pond. We can shape the weir structure in the front of that box or put orifice holes, depends on how the design works out, but we size those holes and those flow restrictors to meet pre-developed flow rates, like I mentioned. So for each storm event, we'll do an analysis and show what the pre-developed flow rate is leaving the site, and then show what the post-developed flow rate is utilizing that box outlet structure. So it'll look a little bit different than this, but the general concept is clear. The second two items are things that would go above and beyond what the drainage manual would typically require. This is a level spreader. It's not required, as to my knowledge, in the current drainage manual, but it's a device that we can put on the end of a flared-in section where a pipe would discharge stormwater onto an adjacent property, and it allows the flow of the water to spread out back to a more of a sheet flow condition before leaving the property. That's something we wanted to present as an option for you all to consider, and for us to present going forward on the preliminary plat. It's really good for the lower flow storm events. The higher flow storm events, as you know, I mean, the flow rate may be coming out of the pipe in a way where it would inundate that, but the flow rate for those higher flow storm events would still be maintained below pre-developed flow. What this does the most is the low flow storm events are the ones we get the most frequently, and therefore the ones that contribute the most to erosion. And so if we can remove that point discharge from the low flow storm events and spread it out before it leaves our site, it would really help with any potential erosion downstream. The other drainage items I wanted to mention, if you go back to the exhibits, as you all know, the existing use for the site is a turkey farm with the turkey barns there. Beyond just removing that use to produce a subdivision there, that would, back up, speaking towards water quality. The water quality leaving the site currently is obviously factoring in the existing use of the turkey farm. So if we remove that use, that in and of itself will assist in water quality leaving the site. But beyond that, our detention facilities are designed to allow total suspended solids, any sediment, contaminants to settle out in those facilities, and producing a cleaner water leaving the site on the neighboring properties. Downstream facilities, I think that was in McClellan's presentation at the beginning. If we were to study further downstream, we would indicate that the same concepts, trying to reduce flow rates and improve water quality, however far downstream, is recommended by the city attorney, and McClellan, and ultimately those downstream property owners, when they choose to develop in the future, would have the same requirements and should be better served for it having the facilities in place on our side. All that said, I have a few other things I can bring up as questions arise, but did we have the adjacent property owner? Okay. Okay. We are in contact with the property owner to the west. It is our understanding that he has no opposition to the development as a whole. Hopefully maybe next week, if he's able to come out and speak, that would be great. If not, like I said, we'll just communicate what we've been told to date. If you have any further questions for me, I'd be happy to answer them.
I have one on the second page
Yes, sir.
where you show the lots. There's an area that has 4 lots that are missing.
Yes, sir.
Is that the retention?
That's where tentatively we would place it. Yes, sir.
Okay. So that would then drain southwest from there?
More directly west, the existing point of discharge is a pretty defined low point on the west boundary line. It's about the 3rd lot north from the southwest corner of the site.
Okay. My understanding there was a kind of a draw anyway that goes from northeast to southwest.
That's about right. Yes, sir.
That was my main concern when I voted.
Yes, sir.
Drainage. Because we have a lot of drainage problems.
Yes, sir. And I'm happy, like, if there's anything further you'd like to see for next week's meeting,
I spoke with somebody on the phone.
yes, sir. I think we were
Very informative. I appreciate it.
very good. Yeah, we were discussing that, and I believe you specifically were speaking for the details for how the pond outlet structure worked. If there's anything more I can provide, assuming we can have a motion to be reconsidered for next week, I'd be happy to bring that back next week for the vote.
Mayor, we can't do a motion tonight. They can just
Yes,
bring
we
it back.
can.
Oh,
I've
okay.
got the directions
Okay,
from the city attorney. We can't approve anything tonight, but we can approve putting it on next month, or next week's agenda.
Mike, were you done?
Yes.
Okay, so, my vote might have been different if you approached it like this. Like your lawyer said, your attorney said that when you answered last time, if this would have addressed most of my water concerns, I still have questions for you. I am still concerned about density, so I'd love to hear about that. But, so you're looking at one drainage basin, is that correct?
Detention basin, yes, ma'am.
Okay. And then you're saying you could do this second picture here? Or the second level spreader?
The level spreader, yes, ma'am. We would have to work that out on the engineering detail side, make sure we're accommodating the appropriate space and the appropriate length of that level spreader. But that's a pretty simple implementation on the end of a flared-in section that can go
I would
on.
like that in there. Anything you can do more with drainage before you come back, as in promising this can be done, would be wonderful.
Understood.
Second, another question here. So I understand you're gonna get some drainage from that corner of Brentwood. I'm curious what this triangle piece extension is that runs more parallel to Shook here. You believe you get runoff from Brentwood all the way up there?
There's potential, and this, like I said, we're working off GIS county contours that's available to us. Just tracing delineating those contours back to the east. There's a little bit that can run off of those couple of backyards through the existing home and kind of shed operation in the back there, through all of that onto Ford Lane. However, everything east of that, and basically everything Hillcrest related, that all drains either east or south of us. So nothing.
Drains horribly east.
Sure. Nothing from Hillcrest drains through this site.
Okay. Well, I like that you considered that in your plan. My concern is with the detention basin, the homes that are across the street. For example, Fairway Valley, or whatever down there. Where's it, Fairway Valley? They have a detention pond. Granted, our standards have drastically changed. But in a high rain event, are these homes on the backside going to be flooded?
No, so the placement of the detention pond currently is in the lowest portion of the site, barring the far west where we would be discharging ultimately. So there wouldn't be any homes downstream of it to the west, and then the north and the south would both be higher. And I believe in the drainage manual there's a minimum freeboard requirement for finished floor elevations above the water surface elevation, which we present in the preliminary plat.
Are you familiar with Brentwood?
I know where the subdivision is, but not with the design or the drainage number.
Okay, well, we have a huge detention pond and a major storm event. We can have that overflow, and I'm guessing our detention pond in Brentwood is bigger. So that's where I worry about those homes on the other side. It literally can overflow up the driveways of other homes.
Understood.
So,
the other thing I would say,
look at that and touch base with our engineering.
Sure.
About Daniel, you know what I'm talking about. Touch base with our engineering to ensure. I would hate to have people move into these nice, beautiful homes that I know you're going to build, if it's approved. But for those homes, I have to look out also for future residents, because we've heard from a lot of residents about drainage issues. I have my own drainage issues. I believe Mike does, MC does, so drainage is huge to us. But that is one thing that in a big storm event, massive 100-year flood, are those homes going to flood?
Understood. Yeah, and the two things I would speak to that as well. The size of the detention pond is not set in stone by this drawing. We've got to get into much more detailed engineering design to size that pond. And then number two, across the board, and when we do subdivisions at our firm, we're continually thinking about an overflow path. So if a mattress were to wash down and block the outlet structure and everything were to overflow the pond, where is that water going to go? And we want to make sure that that has got a path around buildings or around in drainage designed facilities rather than through a home. So that's a very intentional part of our design.
And then my other, you had answered all of my drainage concerns, but the other one would be density and how you're going to address the density, because Hillcrest isn't built out yet, and this is a big development. We have, to and from lane, that's all we have. You have one, do you only have one entrance?
We have three entrances onto Ford.
Oh, there you go.
Onto Ford.
One, two, okay. So you have three different entrances, so possibly they could go down, what is that, Brown?
Yes, ma'am. Ford can go south to Brown. Obviously goes north to 264.
Okay.
But
most, I believe probably most will go
Sure.
towards the 264 route.
Sure.
And when you're already pulling out on Ford, in Brentwood, in Ridgewood, all of that is there. It is very, very hard,
Sure.
as it is with no development, no Hillcrest, not this one, not the other one that we approved on the other side of Rainbow for Dr. Bruce's property. So what road improvements do you see yourself doing to help mitigate that, if
Okay.
any?
The response to the density itself would be our proposed development is not going to exceed either Brentwood or Hillcrest or any of the surrounding neighborhoods in density. I think we're right around the same as Brentwood, 3.5 units per acre.
So how many homes would that be?
We're at 90 on this layout. The other items related to the traffic that you're speaking to, I think there's a couple ways to look at this. Like, we will have to do our half of street improvements on Ford Lane first and foremost. So we'll widen the street to the collector width that's required by code, and that'll be there. How useful it is immediately is just not, I wouldn't say very, like I said, the immediate, but it allows for future development to the north to connect to that widened Ford Lane further. Obviously more development on the east side and further south if that were to come as well. So the more pieces of the widening that get involved, the more traffic that's going to ultimately be able to handle. But where I would say it's a benefit immediately is at the intersection with Ford and 264. We all know that at some point there should be some sort of signal roundabout, something there to help traffic flow on the highway. And obviously that's an RDOT problem. And RDOT traditionally is very consistent. We will not put something there until the traffic requires it. And so this subdivision has to be there in order for it to trigger RDOT to do anything. So that's one thing I would say, like, it might, a little more pain in the beginning, but ultimately help solving a problem on the back end. The other problem I think it helps with is ultimately if things do go west, development wise, We're providing a substreet to the west and to the north and to the south. So connectivity across the board as development comes in around us. And the best one of those would be further west of Clayton, obviously, but northbound and southbound developments would have the ability to spread out that traffic as well. I think generally speaking, bigger roads in a lot of cases, you build them bigger, you just get more traffic, right? So just as that happens, that's not always the solution. The solution in my mind is connectivity. And so if you have more options for people to go north, south, east, west, disperse the traffic rather than concentrate them all into one large road, that goes a long way. So offering the connectivity opportunity, I think, is the other solution there.
So would you have like a turn lane there for all three of those entrances?
A left turn onto Ford? Is that what you're asking?
No, coming in, like if I was coming past the church.
I believe, yes, the collector width would be wide enough ultimately to have a turn lane.
So that those people turning in can just turn in and everybody else can stay straight and it would never back up to Ford.
Back up north, you're talking about?
Yes.
She's talking about a turn lane into your subdivision.
From the south?
I'm confused now. I confused myself.
Because, yeah, people traveling north, people traveling from 264 would be making a right-hand turn in. So that wouldn't be an issue. And I don't know how many people would be traveling from the south, but the collector width would accommodate a left turn lane, I guess is my answer to that.
Okay. That's the, okay. So
But I think the majority of the traffic will be coming from 264 and just be able to make a right turn into our subdivision.
Sure. Okay.
I do have one more.
Yes, sir.
On your front page, it says there, discharge area 2.
Yes, sir.
4.3 acres.
Yes, sir.
If I'm not mistaken, that may be the mansion property. Have you talked with?
To the south.
Yes, to the south.
So, the page one there, that's just indicating what's currently flowing from our site onto that property to the south.
Has anybody talked to him?
I'm not sure if we've been direct conversations with the property owner to the south.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear the name.
Has it been?
Mansion? Is that Mr. Mansion's property right there? I'm not sure if it is or not.
He hasn't done that.
It's this house with the long driveway.
Oh.
Right there.
That's going to be further south than our drainage will impact. I think there's a ravine between our property and that house to the south.
Okay.
So there's no drainage that will get up on that. Oh. They're saying that's their house, the bushes.
Oh, okay. I just want to be sure everybody had been contacted.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Sorry, one more time. So this level spreader detail, you will be adding, could you please add that?
Yes, ma'am.
So that will be included. Daniel, you'll be able to follow up with that to make sure that.
There is a little review.
Yes,
Just one,
okay.
this is not going to come across on this as a reason.
Oh, yes, I know, but if it is passed, you would be able to reassure that that's in there from an engineering perspective. Thank you for the
course.
detail of this stuff.
Yes, ma'am. Apologies for last time.
When I have questions, I need them answered, so I cannot pass
I
anything,
understand.
because it's not in the best interest of the city. Thank you so much, though, this helped a lot.
Okay.
You did good.
Just want to say thank you for clarifying a lot of stuff tonight. I think last time, rightfully, you guys didn't do a very good presentation. Definitely, this is much better now. Looking at it, I think we're looking at rezoning it from A1 to R3 right now.
Yes, sir.
And I have always been concerned about drainage, and I fought to have a better manual, Daniel knows. And I feel like if we go forward with this, I'd like to see the drainage evaluation recommendation that we had tonight to be implemented as part of that. If that's the case, then I feel comfortable that we're at least giving them the same chances we're giving everybody else too. And then after it's rezoned, then it's up to obviously planning commission and engineer to make sure they're implementing and what we're requesting. So I have no problem making a recommendation to reconsider it.
Yeah, I'm for that too.
Okay, at this point, do y'all have anything further?
I need a point of clarification, I think.
Yes, so you said you had some instructions from Justin up there,
Right.
and I would just like to be abundantly sure of do we need a majority of those present, a majority of the whole? What is the requirement to get this
The
motion?
requirement is that for a reconsideration, one of the no votes has to make the motion. Second can be made by anyone, and it requires 4 votes to pass, which is a majority of the whole. And I can be the 4th vote. If there's a tie or there's a 3, I can be the 4th, but it has to have 4 votes to pass. And then that would put it on the next month's agenda, or next week's agenda, to be heard by the council again. And that's when the decision would be made whether or not to actually approve the rezone. This just simply puts it on the agenda.
Okay, and so I apologize in advance for my lack of formality if there is one, but I do see that we are not at full strength tonight.
Right.
And so if there is anyone here that is not open to reconsidering this, then I think we would rather wait than when we have the extra votes.
Well, he did make the statement that it could be considered again at next meeting. And if it were at the next meeting approved as a reconsideration, then it would have to wait till January to even be heard. So
I guess what I'm asking is if everyone is comfortable, again, not with approving the project, but just getting us back on the agenda for a second chance, then we would love a vote tonight. But I would hate to lose that because we're not at full strength.
Okay, I've got a motion by Mike Middlecamp to put it on for reconsideration. Do I have a second? Second by MC. All in favor, please say aye and raise hands.
Aye.
Okay, it passed, and you will be up for reconsideration.
And if there's anything in the next week that I can provide more, please feel free to email me or have the city, one of the city officials email me. I'm happy to bring it with us.
I would, simply because I know this was a no vote, I would go ahead and bring all of this
Sure, happy to.
to the council members that weren't here. I know JJ was a yes vote last time, or was he here last time?
Yes.
JJ, okay.
Yeah.
So I would do your due diligence and bring it again, and if it needs to be discussed again briefly to involve
Because-
council members that were not here,
Right.
I'm totally in support of that, because you did a wonderful job of presenting and alleviating concerns. Thank you.
Thank you. Y'all have a great night.
You too.
And the next item, we do have the budget to go over, but Carl is here if you have questions about the finances and where he is on things before we get started on the budget, that's fine. And
Hi, Carl.
Everybody leaves the accountant job, Carl.
Apparently, yeah.
Yes, you do.
Numbers are boring. What can I do for you guys? Would you like me to tell you where I'm at? What's going on? So, when I first started, I thought that this was going to be relatively easy, and it's not. I've had to go back to January of 2018 and start there. And between January of 2018 and December of 2024, I've had to make $2 million worth of adjustments to your balance sheet, which also flows into your P&L, which reduces your fund balance from, I believe it was 3.7 million, and it's about 1.7 million. So, but it really didn't affect cash. Cash was right for the most part. There were some reconciling items I've had to clean up, but I have cleaned up all the balance sheets through 2024, and in 2025, all of the cash is reconciled through yesterday. And the last thing that I need to do is go through the balance sheet payroll liabilities with Stephanie and make sure that what we have reflected on the balance sheet as liability is truly what our liability is. I don't expect the differences to be material, but there may be some small adjustments. And that's kind of where I'm at right now.
So in January, do you think you have the?
I'm sorry, you gotta speak up.
I'm sorry. So in January, do you think you'd have the actual financial?
I think I'll be able to give you the P&L by next week,
Okay.
is what I believe.
Okay.
It may not be absolutely perfect, but it'll be materially correct.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you. Next item is the budget. I sent this out last meeting. I've also sent it out again now. Nothing's changed since it was originally presented. It looks much better this year than last year's. We actually run a surplus in the general fund, a small surplus in the general fund, a small surplus in the streets, and we run we still have to dip into reserves for water and sewer in a much smaller amount than we did previously. And I do believe that when we get our rate studies back and everything that we're working on, that some of that is going to be changing in Maven, and I suspect that that will no longer be working out of reserves as well. But that is early in the next year, and we don't have till that point to pass a budget. So this is a very serious and to the point look at the budget. It was presented to me by each department head. They were very involved in their own piece of the budget. And then we discussed, and they, I don't know of anything materially that, or anything major that they've asked for that wasn't included.
Mayor, I asked you to, did you have a chance to look into council pay and planning commission pay in comparison?
I did, and I apologize, I don't have that with me, but I forgot to bring it. The cities that you requested, Centerton and Pea Ridge, they pay per meeting, and one of them, it amounts to about $400 a month, and if I remember properly, the other one was about $350.
For both?
For if they make both meetings.
Okay. And then also I would propose with planning, I see the amount of work they do, I've attended their meetings.
Okay.
I know that council is paid whether we're here or not. I know the council does a lot of stuff off record. I know that people meet with developers. I go out to people's properties if they have issues. So I believe council does their due diligence, but also I believe planning does as well. I would like, and planning is paid per meeting, I would like that to go away and then to be paid for just being on the planning commission.
Right.
And then if anything comes up where people are consecutively missing meetings, then, that's under your
Perfect.
Under your umbrella,
Yeah.
Since you appoint them. But I would really like that done away with. They're paid little for what they do, we're paid little for what we do, but.
I very much agree.
So I would like, does that have to come across as an ordinance at the next meeting?
I'll find out from Justin whether that can be wording in the budget or whether it has to be an ordinance, in whichever case it is, we'll have it addressed.
I don't know how other council members feel about that, but that's something I would like addressed.
What do y'all think? I mean, honestly, having done both and having seen what the people do on planning, they're like y'all are, they are not. They are not, their job doesn't end at the end of the meeting. A lot of them will go out and look at sites, they will come back and they've talked to people about processes and they've asked questions before they ever get back to the.
Yeah, I'm okay with it.
Okay. Then I'll have that, I'll talk to Justin about that and see how we get that done appropriately.
So you'll look into that with Justin, and then making this the drainage evaluation recommendations as a resolution or an ordinance as well for the next
Right.
meeting? Okay. I really want this, what McClellan did here for the recommendations at the next meeting to vote on.
Any other questions?
Could you bring that stuff though for the other council members to see comparisons, Centerton, Pea Ridge, or anything else?
Yeah, I'll get that
Any
out to
council?
y'all. I'm gonna send that out tomorrow digitally, and then I'll provide it in writing at the meeting.
So that at least it can be addressed with
Yeah.
everybody here, hopefully. Thank you.
Are we done?
That's up to y'all.
Well, I was gonna make a statement.
Sure.
I just want to let everybody know that this month would be my last month on council, and I would be. It's been an honor really serving Cave Springs and everybody here. It's been really an honor working with everybody. I enjoyed it, but due to some health and other issues, I decided this would be my last month serving the city. Thank you. I appreciate everyone.
Well, thank you. It's
Absolutely.
been an honor working with you.
You've done a fantastic job. Thank you so much for your service.
Do we have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second. All right, motion and a second.